So let's take a look at right triangle trigonometry. So the angles 30, 45, and 60 occur frequently in trigonometry. You can use the trigonometric values for these angles to find unknown side lengths in special right triangles. So we have a 30, 60, 90, and we also have a 45, 45, 90. And so if you remember, we do have special properties of it. So we're going to obtain the values of the 6 trig functions for the angles 30, 45, and 60, and we're going to fill in the table below using the triangles above to help us. So let's do 30 degrees first. So sine of 30 degrees, remember that's opposite over hypotenuse, so that would be 1/2. Cosine of 30 is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that is √3/2. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is 1/√3, or if we rationalize, it is √3/3. So go ahead and fill out the rest of this table, pause the video, and when you come back, I'll have the rest of the answers for you. So here are the answers if you filled it out correctly. So make sure just double check your answers. And we'll come back to the table again at another time, but it's important to understand how we come up with these values, right? Remembering what sine, cosine, and tangent means, and then also cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So let's go ahead and look at an example. Finding an unknown side length. So we're going to find the value of x for the right triangle. So we know this is a 30-degree angle, and then so we're trying to find what x is. So what we're going to do is we need to understand what pieces do we have. So we have x, well, that's adjacent, and then we also have 8, which is our hypotenuse. So if we have adjacent over hypotenuse, well, that is cosine, right? So cosine of 30 degrees equals x over 8. So we can go ahead and solve for this. So let's see, we need to figure out what cosine of 30 degrees is. So let's look up what cosine of 30 degrees is. So if you look up cosine of 30 degrees, that is √3/2, right? Right up here, √3/2. So let's substitute that, √3/2. So √3/2 is our cosine of 30, and that equals 8, x over 8. So to solve, we're going to multiply by 8 on both sides. And then, so this reduces 2, goes into 8 4 times. So x equals 4 square root of 3. Okay, and I know we could use your special properties of the 30, 60, 90 triangle, but I want you to be able to use a cosine of 30. So later on, when we don't have that, when you use a calculator, you know how to manipulate the problem. So you try this next one, find the value of x for the right triangle below. And so again, I want you to use the same formula here just to get a little practice in how to do that. So if you tried it out, you should have used cosine of 45 degrees equals x over 6. Then you look at the top, cosine of 45 is just √2/2, right? Cosine of 45 is √2/2, so you replace that, substitute it. So √2/2 here, then equals x over 6. Then you solve for x by multiplying 6 to both sides. You reduce, so the answer is x equals 3√2. So finding all unknown side length and angle measures of a triangle, that is called solving the triangle. Solving I'm going to just abbreviate the triangle. Solving right triangles that have acute angles other than 30, 45, and 60 may require the use of a calculator. So you have to be sure the calculator is set in degree mode because we are looking at degrees. For example, evaluate the function using a calculator, round to 4 decimal places, and we did this the other day. So depending on what calculator you use, just remember how to type it in. So it's sine of 23 degrees. You plug it into your calculator. You round to 4 decimal places. This is approximately 0.3907. Okay, so let's use a calculator to solve a right triangle. So we have, let's identify what we do know. We do know that angle A is 28 degrees, and of course we have a 90 degrees. We have B, which is 15, and then we don't know what A and C are. So if you remember the sums of a triangle, the angles The sum of the angles of a triangle, that always equals what? So it always equals 180 degrees. So we know that the right angle, of course, is 90, and then we have the 28 degrees. So one way to solve for it is we can say that it's 180 minus 90 and then minus 28 degrees, right? That'll get us what we're missing, angle B. Now there's a shorter way to do this because we already know that the angle is, we have 90 degrees, we have a right angle. We don't have to do it this way. We can always do it a shorter way. The sums of the acute angles have to equal 90 because we have this right angle at 90 degrees, right? 90 plus 90 is 180. So the shortest way to do this is that we can just take 90 minus the angle we know, 90 degrees minus 28 degrees, and that equals 62 degrees. So that is our angle B. Again, capital letters are for our angles. So, and then the other thing we need to find out is how much is A approximately, and then how much is C approximately, okay? So the first thing we want to do is write two equations using trigonometric functions. We want to write one that involves a ratio of finding A, and then another one involving finding C. So our first equation, let's take a look. We know that A is 28 degrees, and we know that B is 15. So let's find one to try to find angle A. So if we know 28, we know what? We have opposite over adjacent. So let's say one of the trig ratios we can use is tangent of 28 degrees equals A over 15. Now let's do equation 2. We know we have 28. We want to be able to find C. And so we know C, that is hypotenuse, and then we have B, which is 15, which is adjacent. So if I think of adjacent and hypotenuse, I could do cosine of 28 degrees equals 15 over C. Now I really want C to be in the numerator because there's a lot less work involved in that. So we have to think about cosine of 28. How can we change that? Well, let's use the inverse of cosine of 28. The inverse of cosine is secant of 28 degrees. So therefore, that makes this secant of 28 degrees is C over 15. This is the one that I want to use. So the next step, we want to solve for the variable. Then we're going to use a calculator and round to 2 decimal places. So let's do tangent of 28 equals A over 15. So tangent of 28 degrees equals A over 15. So in order to isolate the A, we're going to multiply by 15 to both sides. So now you just plug it in your calculator. You have 15 times tangent of 28 degrees. And depending on what calculator you use, of course, if you have the what I call the pink calculator in class, you can type in 15 and then times tangent and then 28 and then equals. Now, if you have the what I call the gray calculator in class, you have to go the other direction. You type in the 28 first, then then use the tangent key, and then times the 15. So if you do that, then your answer, A, would be approximately 7.98. Okay, 7.98. Now let's do letter C, the cosine. So cosine, we have secant of 28 equals C over 15. Now remember, secant of 28, that is really 1 over cosine of 28 degrees, and that equals C over 15. To solve, you multiply both sides by 15, and really it goes in the numerator, right? So we're really looking at C equals 15 over cosine of 28 degrees. So now you can plug it into the calculator. If you're using like the pink calculator, type in 15 and then divided by. I would go ahead and put parentheses, cosine of 28 degrees, and then you should get your answer. Okay, so when you get this, C will be approximately 16.99. So now we have solved the triangle, right? So I can put the answers. A is 7.98 and C is 16.99. So now you're going to go ahead and practice solving for the triangles. So use the diagram below to help you with finding these pieces, and pause the video, and when you come back, I'll have the answers for you. What you want to do is go ahead and round to 2 decimal places, okay, if you can, if you need to. Okay, round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so hopefully you tried this out. If you know that B is 45 degrees and you know A is 45 degrees, you really could just use the special right triangle relationships. You don't have to do the solving like we did before. So if we know that one side is 5, we know that, we could figure out the other pieces, that it's 5 root 2 over 2, and so that'll be A and B. For number 7, you should have gotten 58 degrees, C is 11.79, and A is 6.25. For number 8, you would get B is 19 degrees, A is 18.91, and B is 6.51. And number 9, A is 30 degrees, so this is a special right triangle again. And then you would know that B is 14, C is 7 root 3, or 12.12. Okay, so that's it for this video. Please watch the next video, which finishes up this section.